Tim Tyler is the producer for Cheshire Smile Animation. I've invited Tim today to talk a little bit about the company that he's formed and what he's doing and some exciting things coming up on the horizon. So Tim, thanks for taking time today.
Hey, no problem, Randy.
Tell us a little bit about you. There's a lot of creative people in Saskatchewan. This industry is very, very laser focused. Who is Tim Tyler and how did we come to be here today?
Well, Tim Tyler is a guy who started off studying theater in the States, and I had the opportunity to move down to North Carolina, study technical theater, design, and from there I came back to Canada and developed interest in the television industry and animation specifically. My company started back in 1999, so we're just in our 15th year of making things happen here in Saskatoon, amazingly. And our start was in making web cartoons. We started making web cartoons that became really popular. And this was back before the crash of back before the .com bust. So we'd get all this money in the mail. It was awesome. We made all these cartoons, and then the .com bust kind of happened, and we had to shift gears and shifted our focus onto television. And so over the last few years, we've been developing and producing animation properties for television specifically. As well, we do commercial work and animation work for advertising agencies and that kind of stuff to pay the bills in between. But for the most part, our real focus is creation of original shows that are broadcast on Canadian television.
Can you just clarify animation? Because maybe for some of the generations, myself and older, that were used to drawing cartoons per se, is that done more with a computer and something a little more technical than paper?
Well, yeah, absolutely. Long story short is that animation is a very interesting thing, and it really is, it's like a pencil. And it's all about how high-end your pencil is. You can do animation on paper traditionally, and I've actually got a pitch that I've got into the National Film Board of Canada where we're actually looking to do a paper-style animation. The very first show that I did was paper-style, but you cannot get away from the use of computers in animation today. So regardless of whether you're making completely animated 3D worlds like they do with Pixar or some of the work that we're doing, or doing cartoon-style animation, all of it at some point is quite heavily involved in computer process.
So when you started the company, a little bit of the background there, you did some cartoons. There was a Halloween series, I think, that happened. Yeah. What was that about?
Well, we did Christmas. We've done a couple of Christmas movies, and we've got a Halloween movie that we've developed that we're working to get into production. But basically, my company, when you really look at what I do, I'm a guy who goes out and introduces myself to broadcasters across Canada and around the world. And so consequently, I'm always pitching shows, different ideas for different shows to different broadcasters, depending on what it is that they're looking for. And so we have, over the years, done some work with Teletoon, which is Canada's animation station. And so we produced a Christmas special for them, and we developed a Halloween movie as well that goes, that's part of the same world. And it was called the Sideshow Christmas and Sideshow Halloween, and it followed the antics of a crazy troupe of sideshow performers, and just the misadventures that they got into. So it's been a lot of fun for us over the years. That show has been shown and still shows in France and a number of different places around the world.
What happens with the original concept for some of these? Does it come from maybe a little bit of liquid enticement to try to get the creative juices going, or where does this come from? There must have been something to start this.
Yeah, well, there's always like a little bit of a spark. It's like a combination of a couple different things. We've just finished a new show, which I'll talk about in a little while, but that show, I acquired the rights to that show and met the creator of it. And together we put together a plan to make the show here in Canada. Whereas other shows, sometimes I'll meet a writer who will have an idea for me, or it might just be something that I conceive when I'm sitting in my hot tub.
I can just imagine.
Exactly. And believe me, there's a raft of ideas that are just insane. They're insane.
When we look at this process unfolding, is there something through the eyes of the child that you're looking to try and capture the viewer? Or?
Well, yeah, like, I think that there's a couple things that we really look for. And number one is how much does the idea connect to me? When you make a show, when you make a movie, it is a marriage. And so you're really committed to it. So it has to be something that you're prepared to just work really hard to bring to life. And consequently, there has to be that real deep connection. So that's the first thing that I look for is, what's the connection to me? Is this something that I'm prepared to climb that mountain? Then the second thing is I look at it from a market perspective. And over the years, I've gotten to know the various broadcasters, Teletoon and Chorus and CBC Kids. And each broadcaster has a perspective that they bring to the kind of programs that they want to bring on television. And so when I look at an idea, I see, okay, where's the home for this idea? And from there, I start building the relationships around the property. So it's sort of it's a multi-pronged process. How does it relate to me? Can I see how kids are going to relate to this? And then where's the broadcast home for that show?
There was an episode or a number of episodes with Space Stretch.
Yes.
What happened with that? Where did that come from, and what
Well,
happened?
and that's once again talking about that deep-rooted connection to something personal. My wife and I both are quite into yoga, and I was working on my first animated movie back in 2005, and at that time I just thought it'd be fun to do a yoga show in outer space, and it took a number of years for the concept to actually come together. But really, it was driven by the need for broadcasters to get kids up off the couch and get kids moving. So, the challenge with television is that, people are on their bums watching TV, and as people watch more TV, they become more inactive. And so we wanted to create a show that got kids moving. And, there's an educational component. And so we were able to bring that quality to a broadcaster who had an interest in educational programming, and from there it all came together. So that was a lot of fun. It's still showing on television these days and online. So it's we've had a lot of fun with that show. We hope to do more. You never can tell what's in the cards in the broadcast world, but it's always worth pursuing.
You mentioned the world of broadcasting, and I guess there's an umbrella in there somewhere. There was the film tax credit that left, but you talked about Creative Saskatchewan. What happened with Creative Saskatchewan and the new series that you have?
Well, actually, Creative Saskatchewan has been very good to my company. I have lots of positive things to say about Creative Saskatchewan. When we purchased the format to this show, Creative Saskatchewan gave us a grant that allowed us to leverage to go out and into the international marketplace and acquire the rights to this format. And that first step was crucial because it allowed us to secure the rights to that show and bring the show to Saskatchewan. But more importantly, they're really helpful for us in terms of our production financing. They provided a percentage of the budget that was spent here in Saskatchewan as a grant, and it's been really, really, really wonderful. Without boring the conversation about accounting and all those crazy details, but the old tax credit system was based upon your tax filings, which meant that production companies wouldn't see the cash for 18 to 24 months after they filmed the show. So if you start a show in year one, it might not be till year 2 or year 3 that you actually get the money. So you have to interim finance all of that. Creative Saskatchewan gives you the money up front, or gives you a good percentage of the money up front, which really helps with the cash flow and allows you to have the money when you need it, which is when you're making the show. So there's a number of advantages to the system. We'd love to see Creative Saskatchewan supporting film and television at a higher level. When the tax credit first came into place, it was instrumental in bringing a show called The Incredible Story Studio to Saskatchewan. And that show has built people like Tatiana that everyone raves about from Orphan Black. I can't say her last name, but she was part of that show and all of that. So the challenge with Creative Saskatchewan is that we need to get that grant up to the level where it'll support shows like Incredible Story Studio. That being said, what they've got there today is really good. It's a step in the right direction, and I expect that over the years it'll become even better.
Tell us about the new show that's coming out here mid-September.
Yeah, well, the new show is Quizzine, and it's a show where we play a guessing game with little kids. And this is preschool kids. We recorded them in schools around Saskatoon. So there's 7 schools that we filmed at. And we filmed kindergarten and grade 1 children. And what we did is we gave them hints and clues about a fruit or vegetable. And they gave us all this wonderful reaction as we would get to kiwi or strawberry or apple, the various fruits and vegetables. So along the way, we capture all this response, and then at the end, we have a snack that has been designed by a Parisian chef. This is part of the format acquisition, but this Parisian chef has designed all of these wonderful snacks that the kids can build with their parents. So every episode we learn about a fruit or vegetable, we get introduced to a snack, and then we get invited to go to the website where the recipe for the snack is, and kids can play games and just have a good fun time supporting the show. As well, they can watch episodes online there.
So there's an educational component along with the entertainment value.
Yeah. They're real. This is a show that we brought from France, and it's wonderful because I've got all these French partners, and they're really into food. And the whole idea of the show is that we want to inspire kids to have more culinary diversity in their lives. So it's about creating appeal for foods like kiwis or apples or oranges, and showing these foods to kids in a new way that can inspire them to start integrating this into their lives. And as well, there's a family component to it because, kids need to get their parents to put them on the website. This is a show for kids between 4 and 6, so the kids are involved with their parents in getting to the website, involved with their parents making the snacks. So the whole idea is it's not just about the kids, but it actually spills outward into the rest of the family.
I think Cheshire Smile Animation is on its way to bigger and better things, and I thank you and Carla for both sticking with it right here in our home province and here in Saskatoon. Thanks so much.
Yeah, no problem at all. Thanks. Thank you for having me.
Right on. Thank you.